Hey guys, Dan I'm back with another video. Today I want to talk about why I want to literally sell all of my cryptocurrencies and just walk away from the market completely because this is getting really old. Now, whenever I feel this way, whenever I feel really awful, that's usually the best time to not feel that way and the best time to actually either be buying or doing nothing. So that's one of the hardest things about investing is kind of getting over your emotions and saying, all right, I need to be doing literally the opposite what I'm doing, what I'm thinking. And it's like Warren Buffett says, when others are fearful, you should be greedy. When others are greedy, you should be fearful. Now, we have broken down some major structure. I'm going to tell you why people think this is happening, and then I'll tell you actually why it really is happening. So basically what we got going on is World War III. We have a massive recession. We have a tariff war. We have war potentially with China, war potentially with Russia. This is all happening just on August 1st. So I should have been smart and closed my positions, on July 31st because, we kind of knew that tariffs were coming out August 1st. And if you guys remember last time tariffs happened, the market makers, Binance and Bybit and Coinbase, they took that opportunity, I'll say, to basically dump the price like crazy. What they did was they sold off a bunch of cryptocurrencies. This was, what was this, about January 20th? Yeah, right in here. So right when Trump took office, they basically just dumped everything. Bitcoin went down a lot. Bitcoin went down 32%, and altcoins just got decimated. Now, when you were feeling real awful down here in, April, early April, it was literally the best time to buy. Now, we haven't even pulled back that much on Bitcoin, but let me talk about why I think we could be nearing the end of this dump and why it is a great time to, if you have extra cash that you have taken some profits in, the last couple months or something, might be a good time to redeploy, especially some of the altcoins, and why I think this won't go that much farther. Now let's talk about it. So very first thing is, as you can see here, when we came down, we basically retested the top of this line. We basically almost hit it to the T. It was front ran a little bit by like a couple dollars, but so you can see we consolidated from March of last year, into this big, long, boring cycle. And we're basically just sitting in a, really pretty much a bull flag, right? So if I just draw some lines real quick, you're basically in the same kind of thing that we're doing right now. You're basically just doing this, and this is a big bull flag, right? And then we came out of it, we went really high, and we got rejected by this 8-year resistance, okay? So this is a resistance that goes literally all the way back to 2017. If you draw a line through 2017 to the 2021 weekly close tops, and you continue it, you see this 8-year resistance line that we rejected here, we rejected yet again, we came down, and then we came on and we finally broke it. Now we have actually came down to retest this. So you can see we came down, we hit it, we bounced, we hit the bottom of this bull flag that we have now broken out of, and then we went back down, and now we're struggling to hold this as resistance, right? So this is kind of a really critical point, but I want to show you some other altcoins. I want to talk about some of the news that's going on, what caused this, etc. So again, you have this other top, just like we did before, that we actually hit once, twice. So we could easily come down to 112. That would be a fake out. A lot of people would say, all right, we're out of here. It's time to go. Let's sell everything. And then most likely we're going to go back up, because what is actually happening is they're just trying to liquidate all these longs before we move forward. This is Binance, Bybit, and Coinbase. What they're doing is literally just liquidating everyone. So if we go to the 3-day liquidation levels, you can see we were up here. A lot of people were leveraged long. Here's $100 million just on Binance, no one else. Those were liquidated. And then we came down, we liquidated more of them. And then we came up a little bit. People added more leveraged longs, and then they liquidated them again. And it just keeps happening. So there was a lot of liquidity down there, and they basically just use that excuse, and I can prove that. So one of the things they were talking about, that caused this was the FOMC. It kind of started with FOMC because he said, we're not going to cut rates. And then on August 1st, they basically revised the jobs down. So they went from 144,000 down to 19,000 for May. And then in June, they revised them from 147 down to 14,000. So people are now freaking out because now the labor market's not doing good. That means we're potentially going into a recession. Unemployment came up a little bit. And so people are like, all right, we're going into a recession. Maybe it's time to sell. Maybe it's time to take the profits, get out of the market. And then Trump, actually just fired this woman who was in charge of this data for the revision. But it's kind of interesting. We'll talk about it in a minute here, what it actually means. Downward revisions in the labor market means Fed is more likely to cut in September. Only hurdle is inflation. So the Fed is basically forced to keep inflation low and unemployment low is basically what their goal is. They have two goals. Those are their only two goals. That's all the Fed cares about. And that's how they control interest rates. So more important, though, is the unemployment data, right? You can't have 1 million people without jobs. That's even worse than inflation going up, right? So they don't want that to happen. So now the rate cut chance is higher. Now, rate cuts aren't always super bullish. A lot of people think rate cuts instantaneously is going to basically, shoot the markets up. But if you're cutting into a recession, it's not as good as if you're cutting because, inflation's not that high, right? So it's kind of, if you're cutting into a recession, that's kind of bad news. So they're not always bullish, but I think in this case it will be bullish because we've been in quantitative easing, the Federal Reserve, for a very long time, which is basically meaning that they're not injecting money into the economy. Once you get into quantitative easing, did I say tightening? We've been in tightening and we need to go into easing. And once they do that, they'll start printing money, injecting money into the markets, and that'll cause things to go up. And when rates come down, people are more likely to go into risk assets, which is stocks and crypto. So this is some of the bad news I was talking about. China preparing to invade Taiwan. Trump also set some nuclear submarines over to Russia. But this is what's happening. Market makers continuing to dump. When will it stop? So I posted this on August 1st. If you want to follow me, Dan Heilman 3 on X. I post a lot on there, and I post a lot on my Discord if you want to join over there. And here's Trump bombing my bags every time. I mean, the tariff war was miserable. It was just awful, just absolutely terrible. Especially, I had a lot of leverage. Like last month, I think I made like 35 grand in leverage trading. And then this month, literally already in like the first couple of days, I've already just given all that back. I think I'm down 35 grand. So if you do want to try leverage trading, be very careful. If you also just want to try a great exchange with no KYC, I have a link below for Bitunix, great exchange. So feel free to use that. If you use my link, you get a discount on fees. So feel free to do that, but be very careful with leverage. Just use 1x leverage so that you can't get yourself in too much trouble if you're new. But it's also a great exchange if you want to buy spot. So what we got going on is how crypto markets work. Major centralized exchanges hold volume dominance and have spot and perpetuals. Their business is to sell bets to traders with leverage, loan liquidity with collateral backing. So you can either bet against crypto you have or like USDT, USDC. And then they use market makers to stimulate the betting. Then they use the same market makers to liquidate the bets they sold to the traders. Perpetual future market is 100 times larger in daily volume than the spot market. That's pretty crazy. And I find it wild that you can like short when you don't even like own an asset. You know what I mean? So I think it's called naked shorting, if I'm not mistaken. This will be regulated away shortly with the Clarity and Market Structure Acts, but will take time to propagate to offshore jurisdictions. So Binance and Bybit, those are not based in the United States. So they don't have the same rules and regulations that we have here. Coinbase is, but I think it's kind of waiting for this Clarity Act to get passed, right? So where most of these guys are located. Until then, follow global liquidity on a high time frame and liquidation levels on a low time frame. We talked about that. When there's huge pockets of liquidations, that's a great place to enter a trade. If you have a bunch to the downside, you can basically wait for those all to get cleared and then enter along to go back up. And on good macro news and on good crypto news, traders go long, so exchanges will flush the market to the downside. On good macro news and good crypto news, traders go short, so exchanges will flush shorts to the upside, okay? I think I meant to say bad. I know it's hard to accept, but this is how it is. And Marty Party's great. I follow him on X. He just shows literally exactly what's happening. So here is August 1st at about 4 p.m. You have Binance and Coinbase selling assets. Circle buying. Circle has actually been relentlessly buying. So you can see Coinbase, Binance, they're selling ETH, Solana, ETH, Solana, ETH, Solana, ETH, Solana, and it's like millions and millions of dollars. And then you can see Circle buying like crazy. So, they flushed the market. And Circle has actually just been buying like crazy for like every time these market dumps have happening. Circle has been buying this year. So it's been pretty crazy. So here's 7 p.m., 3 hours later. Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin, millions and millions and millions of dollars being sold just to liquidate these longs that I talked about here on this liquidation heat map, right? So this is all of their doing. So, I mean, think about it. Are you going to sell your fart coin because Trump has tariffs? No, you're not going to do that. That makes no sense, right? So they just use fear in the market. Also the stock market sold off because, people think, oh my God, we're going to go to a recession. We're going to have World War III. This is going to be the end of everything. And then what they do is they flush the markets even lower, and it causes even more fear. And the liquidations, the long liquidations, when they get liquidated, it actually forces them to sell more. So now it goes lower and it spikes the price down, and then people get scared and they sell, and they just continue to do this. And it's just like a feedback loop where it continuously floods the market with sell orders. So that's what's happening right now. In good news, in positive news though, August is usually quite bullish for Ethereum. If you look at every 4 years, the year after the halving, you can see 70% gain for Ethereum, 50% gain for Ethereum. What's this one going to be? I don't know. You can see last year in 2021, we had a 20%, then a 50%. Maybe we get a 40%, then 100%, or maybe we get a 40% and 30%. But I think we're going to see some bullish action here. And then maybe September, we'll get a pullback. And then October, November, December are usually pretty good, as you can see historically, right? So October flat, but November, December are 120% gains, right? So quite big there. So I think, when I said I want to sell everything and walk away, if I really wanted to sell everything right now, I would probably sell everything besides Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Litecoin's holding up very well. Ethereum's holding up very well. We'll go talk about those charts. I'm super bullish on Litecoin, Pengu, a couple other ones, and we'll talk about this. So Bitcoin ETFs, there was a bunch of buying, and usually when you have a lot of buying, that usually marks the top, unfortunately. And you can kind of see it here, right? So here is a local top. You can see a lot of buying right into that local top. You can see over here, kind of a local top, a lot of buying into the top. And now we have this huge outflow, one of the biggest outflows we'll ever have. And you can see you usually get big outflows right before we bounce. Now, is it going to be the exact bottom? I don't know. You can literally never know. But if you stay in spot or use very low leverage, you can just lower your risk to the point where now is probably a good time to start adding again. And here you go. This is a really interesting thing. So Binance has sent Wintermute 110,000 Solana in the last 18 hours alone. Binance has sent Wintermute 8,000 Ethereum in the last 4 hours alone. It is clear in the transactions where the assets are going and that they are not client withdrawals. Okay, here is the Binance proof of reserves for July. They report having no Solana and no Ethereum outside of customer funds. So where are these assets coming from? Simple question, all facts on the chain or from official documents. So here you go. Boom, proof of reserves. It says they don't have any. So how are they sending 110,000 Solana to their market maker to sell on the open market? How are they doing that? If everyone on earth withdrew all their money from Binance, they wouldn't be able to dump the market anymore because they're literally using customer funds to dump this market, which is so messed up. Here you go. A bunch of Ethereum, millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of Ethereum and Solana that they're dumping on the market. I don't know why they always pick Solana. I think it's because the market cap of Solana is really close to BNB. And if you'll notice during these dumps, Binance coin, BNB, does not really dump that much because they don't dump their own coin. Their old CEO, CZ, has, I think, 40% of the BNB supply or something like that. But here you go. Here's all their stuff. It says they have customer net balances, exchange balance. You can see here, it literally says that they have less on their exchange than they do customers balance. And then they have a little bit on third-party custody for some reason. But they literally have exactly the amount that their customers have. That's all they have. So they don't have extra. So where are they getting this Ethereum to sell? They're literally using user funds, giving it to their market makers and dumping it on the open market. It's kind of sick. So that's what's going on with the news. Now we'll go look at some charts. Another interesting thing is the FOMO finder is now uncertain, which it has not been in quite a long time. It's been balanced. It did pop into Canary Call, and I think it hit greed for like a couple hours. What this does is looks at the current funding. You can see the current funding is negative on Bitcoin. So that means that most people are short right now. And this is what happens. People short the bottom. Everyone's scared. They're like, it's going, this cycle's over. It's going to zero. As soon as a lot of these longs get flushed out and then everyone goes short, and then the market makers flip it around and they start buying, and then they liquidate all those shorts all the way back up to the top. This happens constantly. You can see right now, if we go to the 3-day, the most liquidity is at $120,000. If we zoom out even more, let's go to like 1 month. What do we got going on here for Bitcoin? Look at this. It's almost all gone. There's a tiny bit of liquidity at 112,340. So we could come down, retest the top of this, which is, 112. We could come down to 112. And I think maybe that's the lowest we would go. But look at all this liquidity up here. It's millions of dollars. Millions. If we actually go to liquidation map and we go to, here's just Binance. If we go up to, it doesn't even show it because I need to zoom out more. If we go to 7 days, look at this. It's all short. Everyone is short. There's $3 billion of shorts. There's only $600 million of longs right now. So if we go up here to 121,000, that's $2.62 billion that Binance makes and they get to keep. That's all they have to do. If they can push the price back up to 121,000, they get to keep $2.62 billion. That's how these guys make money. It's kind of sick. So here's all of the exchange liquidation. So all of them combined. 7 days. Look at the amount of shorts now. This is usually like 50-50. But look at this now. If we were able to go up to like 125,000, $12.4 billion of shorts. Down here, if we went all the way to 100,000, they'd only get 3 billion versus 12.5 billion. So right now, everyone is going short. And after dumping this far, it's literally the worst time to go short. You can see there's a bunch of shorts right here. If we were to go to 155, look at that. That's 11.6 thousand Bitcoin on Hyperliquid. This is how many people are short. But these people, it looks like they shorted a little bit higher, which is smarter for sure. And they can always close these out, right? So they only get liquidated here if the price goes here without them closing it. But still, this is what happens. This is how they do it. Now let's go look at some shorts. Let's go look at some shorts. Let's go look at some charts. I have trades open, as I said, on Bitunix. If you want a link below, feel free to use that. Just be very careful with leverage, guys. But if you just want to purchase, you want to buy in right now, they're a great exchange with great fees. So especially if you use my affiliate link below, it does help me out, but it also helps you out, gives you a discount on fees, etc. But I talked about Bitcoin. What I think's happening here, structure's broken. We're going down. Litecoin is actually still holding structure. It's one of the only kind of altcoins on the 4-hour that has hardly even closed below this. Like, honestly, I could probably move this down to the close of this 4-hour right here. And you can see we just tapped that. We barely tapped this 0.5. So we're holding at the 0.5 fib for now. And we're barely even, we haven't even come out of this bull flag, right? So a bull flag is this descending channel here. We haven't not come out of it. So Litecoin's looking really good. The maximum downside for Litecoin is probably barely even below the bull market support band. If it really loses structure, and I think long term it's going to be doing very well. We have a big cup and handle pattern that should push the price to at least, if I measure from there to there, should push the price to at least $150, which is a new cycle high, a new high for this cycle. Now, if we continue to look at Litecoin real quick before we move on, here's Bitcoin dominance. I guess we'll stop at this real quick. Bitcoin dominance looks like it either wants to go higher, retest the bull market support band, or it could double top at this place, at this location it's at right now. It might hit the bull market support band and then come back down. We could even go back up to this red line. That would be painful. But don't forget, this can also happen on a Bitcoin pump. So if Bitcoin's pumping, but the altcoins aren't pumping as much, you can see this go up. So it doesn't have to be a dump, but most of the time it is. Litecoin dominance. So the percentage of market that is in Litecoin just kind of got rejected off this. But when it breaks out of this, I think we're going to see a big pump to the upside, but it is still above the bull market support band, showing strength for Litecoin. If we go to Litecoin, Bitcoin chart, let me find it. Litecoin, Bitcoin chart. We are above the bull market support band. So right now, Litecoin is strong versus Bitcoin. If we go to the 4 hour, we actually broke out of the bull flag finally. How do you like that? Look at that. We've broken out. Now we're coming back to retest the bull flag. Totally fine, totally normal. We had a big breakout. Litecoin has been holding up very well over the couple of last days here. Another thing you guys should be looking at is Litecoin versus Ethereum. Notice something, it's the only thing green on the chart right now. So Litecoin is doing very well. It double bottomed here. We have a big break up. And now if I go to the daily chart, you can see my cycle indicator, my cycle low indicator in green here also shows that the cycle low should be in this window. So look at that. So that means now the daily cycle is going to start heading up. We have some moving averages. We have a bull market support band, but this is a double bottom on Ethereum. Very interesting. So this could signal support and a lot of strength for Litecoin coming up. So I'm very bullish on Litecoin, one of the most bullish. Fartcoin has completely lost structure and has come in way down. It is a huge pullback all the way down to this same resistance line from back here in April of this year. Now, we also have a very large cup and handle. I do think Fartcoin will come back. There is some speculation that people are selling, people are dumping the Fartcoin price because Robinhood is trying to list it. It is at very critical support right now. I am very underwater on my long, but I'm going to hold it for a while. I'm not going to close it. I still think Fartcoin is going to make new highs this cycle. It has been very strong. Pengu, another one, extremely strong, that is now a little bit struggling out of here. Let's redraw these lines now that we have a little bit more information on what we got going on. So we kind of have something that's almost like looking... It looks like a support line there, and it looks like we possibly have a support line, something like this. So this is a falling wedge, which is a bullish pattern. It has had a lot of strength. It has a lot of strength. Again, basically have a cup and handle pattern, boom, boom, and we have broken out of it. So the target has already been met by that, but it has been showing a lot of strength over the last couple days here. So Pengu is another one that has been very strong. Now let's look at these versus Ethereum real quick. If we look at Fartcoin versus Ethereum, you can see we've broken out of the structure. However, we're coming back to retest this support, and my indicators say we have a daily cycle low and a weekly cycle low right now for Fartcoin versus Ethereum. I like to measure versus Ethereum because it's Ethereum season right now. And then the other one is Pengu versus Ethereum. It's one of the only ones that has been very bullish. So we actually kind of got rejected off this double top, but now we're back in the cycle low window yet again. Things got to cool down for a little bit. So it looks like a breakdown, but my indicator is saying we should have a cycle low coming. So we can take another run and try to break this support again. So looking very strong there. What else we got going on? Doge, I have a trade with open with Doge. Doge is looking very weak. I'm about ready to cut my trade and get out of here. Ethereum is still very strong compared to a lot of them, right? So again, if we go to Ethereum dominance, it's still above the bull market support band and above the very slow moving average here I have on the chart. So very strong. It's gone down the last couple of days, but I mean, look at the progress it's made against the other cryptocurrencies. It's up 71%. That's how much dominance has come back. And if you zoom out even more, you can see that it's probably headed up here. So there's a lot of resistance up here. It's probably got another 70% of dominance to take from other cryptocurrencies. So that'd be pretty huge. So you'll see basically the dominance go from 11% all the way up to 21%. So it's basically going to double the dominance over the cycle. So usually what happens, Bitcoin season for years, and then Ethereum season for a short time, and then high caps, medium caps, low caps. Video's getting long. Couple more to talk about. Zora is another one that's been strong, even against Ethereum. We just finally did have a little bit of a breakdown here, but it's testing one of the fib levels and kind of holding above it. I'm expecting this. I have a trade open on Zora. I was up about $4,000, and then unfortunately overnight it hit my stop loss. But again, we have a falling wedge pattern, which is very bullish. That's what I got going on. That's it for the video. This is all market manipulation. Hang in there. I know you may be emotional right now and saying, I want to get rid of everything and leave. But usually those are the best times to buy. Hang in there, guys. Hang in there. Hang in there. Just hang in there. I think you'll thank me later. So that's what we got going on. It's all market manipulation. You know, we're not plunging into a recession tomorrow. These things take time. And I don't think we'll have World War III. And the tariffs usually, you know, if Trump, how he negotiates is he basically goes, I'm going to give you 1,000% tariffs on everyone. And then he negotiates with these people. Basically, he goes, shoots for the moon, and then he pulls it back and negotiates something better for the United States. That's, you know, he wrote a whole book about this. So I don't think he's going to keep the tariffs as high as they are. And I think everything's going to be fine, guys. You know, of course, there's a chance that it's not all fine. It's World War III and no one's here and the whole world gets nuked. And then it doesn't matter if you lose your money in cryptocurrency because everyone will be gone. So that's what we got going on. Just make sure you get those emotions in check. I'm saying this out loud to myself as well because it feels bad right now. It feels bad to pull the trigger and buy some stuff. It feels bad to take any longs right now. But just hang in there, guys. This is all market manipulation. I think we'll see some nice bounce backs next week. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Have a great day, everyone. And again, if you want to try out any affiliate links, I have a bunch below. I have a bunch to Bitunix, which is my favorite exchange. I have one for my indicator, which is Market Cipher B, and I have one for Coinbase and Crypto.com and all sorts of exchanges. If you want to try them out, that is the best way to support the channel. YouTube pays me nothing, so I basically get everything that keeps this channel afloat from affiliate links. So appreciate the support, liking, subscribing, and pressing the comment section and leaving a comment is very helpful as well. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great day, everyone. See you guys.